Many of you know that David Sachs is the White House czar for two things. He's the czar for AI, which gets talked about a lot, but he's also the czar for cryptocurrency, for a movement in this country and around the world that is an area where the United States can be have a huge competitive advantage and can be part of a modern economy. And there's a piece of legislation on Capitol Hill related to crypto that is in the midst of the legislative process. And it's super important. It's super important that everybody understand what's in it, why it's important legislation, and what the choices are that the country's making. So with that, we're going to bring in one of our favorites. Paul Graywall is the chief legal officer at Coinbase. And Coinbase is our partner in understanding all these issues. And he's been here before, and we're grateful to have him back. Paul, Happy New Year, and thank you for being here. Unmute
Hey,
if you
thanks,
would.
Mark. It's great to be back on with you.
Yeah. Before we get to the legislation, and you can explain to people like what's in it and why it's important. What's the state of things now? President Trump's been in office for a year. David Sachs has worked on these issues along with AI. What's the state of the size of the industry, the trajectory of the private sector, leaving the government laws aside? What's the trajectory of the industry now?
Well, Mark, the state of the industry is strong and growing stronger. Crypto is now a multi-trillion-dollar asset class. You have thousands and thousands of Americans working in the industry. You have well over 50 million Americans who have bought or sold a crypto asset of one type or one stripe at this point. And so, even though under the prior administration there was a concerted effort to drive this asset class and this industry either underground or out of existence entirely, in many ways, the industry is as strong as it's ever been and looking to get even stronger with new legislation.
Okay, so tell people what's in this legislation. Tell me if I'm right about this. It's the Senate's working on a version of a bill already passed by the House, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So
So,
so what's in it? Why is it important for the country to debate the ideas that are in it that would affect your industry?
well, it's important because, well, Congress has done a fair amount of very productive work on establishing rules for crypto. That work remains unfinished and needs to be completed. Last year, Congress passed legislation on a particular type of cryptocurrency called a stable coin. These are coins that do not fluctuate in value and are nearly as volatile as more well understood and well known cryptocurrency tokens like Bitcoin. They're fixed to an asset, typically a dollar that's sitting in a bank account. Those rules have unleashed incredible innovation, even in the last 6 months, in ways that we think are going to transform how people move value over the internet. But those rules that were passed by Congress only apply to that particular type of stable coin or cryptocurrency that's backed by dollars in a bank account. What we need and what we are working on now is a comprehensive set of rules that apply to all cryptocurrencies that set standards for what disclosures need to be made to investors when they buy a particular cryptocurrency token or another. Who has the primary role for regulating this industry? Is it the Securities Exchange Commission? Is it the Commodity Futures Trading Commission or somebody else? And what other standards can apply that make sure that not only are American investors protected when they choose to invest in this particular asset class, but that there remains room for innovation? Because even as the United States is struggling to catch up with rules for crypto, the rest of the world, especially China, has raced ahead.
Yeah. So when you say China's raced ahead, for a normal person, what does that mean? What advantage do they have now, and why?
Well, what the Chinese have done, I think, very strategically, is to look at types of cryptocurrencies as a way of undermining the dollar's role as the primary currency in international trade. And
Right.
they've done this for the most part by promoting an alternative to the dollar in the form of a digital yuan or a cryptocurrency that is backed by the Chinese fiat currency, but that can be used as a substitute for dollars in international trade. And as one example, Mark, of the way in which the Chinese have raced ahead of the US, they have explicitly permitted holders of digital yuan to earn interest or rewards on those tokens, much in the way that you and I and everyone on this call can earn interest in a bank account. Unfortunately, here in the United States, there's a concerted effort by the banking industry to prevent those same types of rewards from being issued by distributors of digital dollars or stable coins backed by US dollars. So it's critically important for our competitiveness that we get sensible rules in place, to say nothing of the innovation and opportunity that we would benefit as well.
How big is it now compared to, say, when Donald Trump took office? How much more is it being used by Americans?
Tremendous growth. As I mentioned earlier, we now have well over 50 million Americans who are engaging with this crypto economy, and many hundreds of millions of people all over the world. And it's important, Mark, to understand that it's not just that people are increasingly investing in these tokens. They're doing more than just buying tokens and hoping that the value of those token assets appreciate over time. You're now seeing in the United States new products and services that allow people to borrow using cryptocurrency tokens, lend those cryptocurrency tokens in order to earn a return on them in much the same way as you earn a return by putting deposits into bank accounts or purchase stocks and bonds with the hope of appreciation. And so the products and services that go beyond simply just investment, I think, are as an important part of the story as anything else. And that is only increasing with time as we see more and more Americans embrace this alternative traditional financial system.
So 50 million now, what would you project it to be in a year?
Hard to say, but it's growing rapidly. I think in a year we could see 80 or 100 million Americans involved in digital assets or cryptocurrencies if this legislation passes
Right.
and the right rules get enacted as a result.
And does it skew towards a certain demographic? Is it more men than women? Is it more whites than non-whites?
Well, it's historically been skewed towards the young. Not surprisingly, younger people have embraced this innovation much in the same way as they were the first to embrace social media, to embrace the iPhone, and other innovations that we're now all using on a regular basis. And while it historically has skewed more towards men over women, we're seeing women increasingly participate in this technology on an equal basis. And I think that's incredibly important for the long-term development of the technology.
Yeah. All right. So one reason we're excited to partner with Paul and his colleagues is this is a really complicated topic, particularly if you're not someone who's invested. I read about it all the time, and I do my best to understand it. But every time Paul's on, I learn more. And this is an opportunity. If you want to raise your hand, if you're an expert or an investor and you want to ask a specialized question, Paul's here for that. If you're someone who doesn't understand it at all and you want to start with 101, you can do that too. And it's a great opportunity to get a very informed and nice person to answer your question. So if you'd like to be in on the conversation, please raise your hand. Ryan, is your question about this topic? Yes, it is. All right, here comes Ryan. Ryan's going to unmute, tell folks where he is, and then question for Paul about the sector.
Hello, Paul. Go Niners.
Hi, Ryan, and go Niners indeed.
Yeah, I'll tell
Right
you,
on, Paul.
you Bay Area sports fans are the biggest snobs I've ever met. You just think you're the only teams around. In any event, Ryan, floor is yours.
So, Paul, I would like to get your take on. I mean, what I understand the position that we're falling behind in some sense to China with respect to digital currency, but they're also tying that to social scoring. I'm a bit skeptical as a U.S. citizen with that aspect of what China is doing with their digital economy. I also would like to hear your take on the idea of meme coins. I mean, rug pulling is now a derogatory term that is in the crypto space, and it's been proven that there are many people that have lost a lot of money in these situations. And how do you see the evolution of the crypto economy moving forward with this dynamic that we're seeing in the market today?
Great question, Ryan. Paul.
Great question, Ryan. You raised two very important points with that question. Look, on the risk or threat of the digital yuan, I want to be very clear. I'm not suggesting that we copy China or try to out-China when it comes to a central bank digital currency that allows the government to surveil all of your purchases and in some cases selectively turn on or turn off your access to your own resources. I think that would be a disaster for the United States. And it's one of the reasons why I think passing this legislation is so important, because what this legislation would do, among other things, is promote private tokens that allow people to opt in or choose to participate in this technology of their own accord. And the alternatives that are promoted by this U.S. legislation are decentralized. They're not dependent upon one central authority or one source of power in order to decide who gets to participate and who doesn't. On meme coins and the risks to consumers, Ryan, I think this is actually an argument that weighs in favor of getting legislation passed soon. In fact, the sooner the better, because right now, as things stand, the fraudsters, the scammers, they are able to operate in certain parts of the internet without a lot of oversight or any recourse for when they conduct these types of frauds. What the legislation would do, for example, would be to enshrine formally a role for the federal government, most often at the CFTC, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, to monitor this market and to go after frauds and scams when they see them. We think that's the right way to go about this. And frankly, we need to do this immediately.
Okay. Ryan, grateful to you. Thank you for the great question. Another great question, I guarantee it, coming from America's most handsome grandpa, Chris Taylor. Chris Taylor, Happy New Year. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So I do not follow crypto that much. The one piece that has always stuck out to me is something about blockchain being inherently a bottleneck. I'm just wondering if that is an issue and if it's getting solved.
Yeah. Paul, explain the question first and then answer it if you would.
Sure. Well, Chris, when you refer to blockchains potentially being a bottleneck, you can refer to it. You could be referring to any number of different concerns. I take from the thrust of your question, you're worried about, for example, energy consumption or usage arising from blockchains. Or are you more worried about a central authority having a say over what transactions are permitted?
So I understand like investing, or even my local private school takes donations. In other words, for investing for certain transactions, it's fast enough, but to write, like the whole process of of keeping it, I guess authoritative, like however that function works, it just, that process takes so long. It's hard to do that quick enough for buying a candy bar or something like that.
Well, you're right. So you're referring to the potential bottleneck on these networks themselves and the speed with which we can validate that a transaction's invalid so they can be processed. Look, there are actually many ways in which blockchains, which are the fundamental technology that support cryptocurrencies, are faster and settle transactions much more efficiently than traditional payment systems. For example, when you or I have to transfer money using the traditional wire system, it can often take a day or two or more for the bank to formally settle that transaction in a way that would make it utterly impractical for day-to-day or more regular payments. Many cryptocurrencies are built on blockchains that can actually settle not just short of 2 days, but short of 2 minutes and even 2 seconds. And I think once we allow this industry and this technology to flourish by virtue of having a clear set of rules and certainty on what those rules are going to look like, you're going to see even more investment and capital being put to use and put to work on improving those settlement times and efficiencies in ways that are going to get that even further and further down.
Okay, just one last quick comment. Being an advocate of nuclear energy and these big data centers that are going in, I guess maybe I should be for cryptocurrency.
Yeah. Supply and demand.
I would suggest you should be.
Yeah. Thank you. Very grateful to you, Chris. Paul, if people want to start with the equivalent of Crypto 101, what's something you'd recommend they read, a book or website, or where can people start to read and understand it?
The original crypto was first disclosed to the wider public in a white paper written by an unknown author named Satoshi Nakamoto. This is called the Bitcoin White Paper. It's a handful of pages. I think it's 7 or 8 pages, Mark, written in plain English. I actually suggest people go read that because it really does lay out the fundamental idea that we need an alternative to the current system and how it could operate in a way that wouldn't depend upon a central bank or a central government to process payments. So that's one place I would start. And then if I can immodestly suggest that my Twitter feed and others active in the crypto space is another great place for people to just learn the language and vocabulary and how these things work. That's another great source for people to get more familiar with this before they choose to invest.
Yeah. Okay. So let's take that big step back, which maybe is where I should start every time you're on, because we have people on here for whom this is new. What's the fundamental in the white paper? What's the fundamental argument for why we need this additional or parallel system?
Yeah, the fundamental argument is that much of our financial system is based upon various central authorities deciding that you or I are the people we claim to be, and that we are entitled to process payments or otherwise transfer value on the internet according to some criteria that that central authority dictates. What the Satoshi white paper, the Bitcoin white paper, laid out was a new way of thinking about how to determine whether individuals and transactions were valid, which was decentralized and which relied upon a consensus among lots of computers working all across the internet that were under no one authority's control. That's the basic idea upon which all this technology is built. And it really does, I think, align with a lot of very traditional American values about avoiding centralization of power or authority and putting that power back in the hands of regular people.
If you think you can take a pass, no matter what your age, on understanding crypto or AI, you're making a mistake. These are part of our present. They're going to be a bigger part of our future, your kids, your grandkids' future. So I urge you to continue to read in. Paul Graywall is the Chief Legal Officer at Coinbase, our partners in educating everybody. I couldn't be happier to have you here and look forward to talking to you more, Paul, in the coming days. Friends of Cozy Earth would like you to enjoy a 20% discount, courtesy basically of me. Go to cozyearth.com, promo code two-way, 20% off the bubble cuddle blanket, the sheets, the towels, and the glorious pants that you can wear anywhere. Comfortable, stylish, and I couldn't recommend them more. Right now, go to cozyearth.com, start the new year off right, and give your home the luxury it deserves. Make it the home the best part of life. Head to cozyearth.com, use the promo code two-way, get 20% off. The post-purchase survey will give you an opportunity to say Mark Halpern sent you. And again, this applies to everything on the site, the bubble cuddle blanket, the luxurious sheets. Right now, they've got a Baja bedding set. It's their first collection to have a complete matching set. Everything you could imagine buying to make it to a part of your bedroom. Reversible design, premium fabric, timeless colorways. Perfect set to create your own resort-inspired haven at home. Who wouldn't want that? Luxury bath towels, the bubble cuddle blanket. Lose yourself in the luxury of that thingy. Again, go to cozyearth.com, promo code two-way for 20% off. Refresh your routines with comfort that makes every day feel like a new year. They say that something that's easy is like a walk in the park. Well, easier than a walk in the park, hit the subscribe button, be part of the two-way community, never miss an episode, be part of our conversations. Thank you for your service to America. And don't forget, you can now listen to the morning meeting and two-way tonight on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.